Hello and welcome to today's LOL Esports Roundup, where we're going to cover one roster move, the LPL, LCK, and LEC games from today, as well as the LPL and LEC games for tomorrow. Um, Able to fit it all on one board, which is good. I'm going to try and get the timestamps out. I know Gerb saw it Gerb saw it in the, saw it missing and mentioned it in the comments in the last couple days. I haven't really had the time to do those to try and push the video out. Um, So I'll try and get them done today. News. Nongshim RedForce, if you didn't watch the NSD Plus series, they called up Jwoo, sorry, to play at AD carry. Jwoo was a member of that Nongshim team that won it last year in 2022, but in spring he was the only one they did not call up to play in the LCK. They brought in Vital, and I'm not going to lie, I think I thought Vital was better than Ghost. He should have been playing over Ghost. Instead, he was loaned out to Sengoku Gaming in Japan, where he'd finished second, and then returned to the LCK and played this past split and started this split as well. The stats I'm going to go over are all of 2023 stats. This includes Jwoo's mostly academy stats. 3.8 KDA, 9.4 CS per minute, 71.1 KP. I'm not overly impressed by the 9.4. 444 gold per minute, 607 damage per minute. So that is roughly 24.5% of the team's gold, 27.9 damage share. So secondary damage probably splitting damage with the mid laner if Calmy is playing. I'll get into that in a minute. On average, Jwoo in the CK was down almost 300 gold. A handful of farm, up 95 CS. 16 champions in 59 games is definitely a surprise. You do not see 80 carries playing that many champions, even over this large of a sample size. Unfortunately, though, losing in lane is not a good look if you're trying to promote. I understand that everybody from his team last year leaves, so he's with newer players. I don't know if Blessing is the support alongside him in CK. Might be Goliath. They had like 6 supports last year, if I recall correctly, in their system. But this isn't what I think. Well, I think this is one of Nongshim's problems, but it wouldn't have been the first thing I would have tried. Vital's numbers in the LCK, so mind you, this is at a higher level of play. 2.6 KDA, 9.7 CS per minute, 64.3 KP. So less involved, more farm, so it probably evens out. 410 gold per minute, 533 damage per minute. So it doesn't get as much gold, doesn't deal nearly as much damage, but still the same gold percentage at 24.6. 28.3 damage share, so pretty much the same. But Vital in the LCK is losing lane hard, down 425 gold, 12 CS, 260 XP at 15 minutes on average. 12 CS is a lot of CS on average across 49 games, and he played 10 champions. So, like I said, I think this is one of the problems of Nongshim, but is it the first thing I would have done? Probably not. They have Fiesta, they have Quad, they're playing Quad still. I don't know if Fiesta's getting CK games or not. I probably should have looked at that. I don't know if Calmy is. I liked what Calmy did in the very few games he played at the end of spring. Why not put him in? I mean, you've already tried it and he didn't look bad, so why not just leave him in there? Give him a chance. I think that's easier than trying to screw with the bot lane, but the bot lane does need help. And I don't know if Jwoo is the answer. I'm sure some people are going to say, yeah, but at Asia Stars Challenge, he looked really good in this and that. So maybe he just needs to be with his former teammates. Going against D Plus today, we'll get into that, but I imagine that, no one's shocked by the results of that one. Just 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Now, recap predictions. I'm 75-25 so far in summer. We went 8-2 on the board. We start off with LPL, Ninja in Pajamas, and Thunder Talk. Nip 24th in the power rankings are now 5-3 as they win 2-1. Thunder Talk now 1-6. Shadow was my MVP. Bodic 17-7-9, 31% of damage at 80 carry. Huo is 2-4-30. So the bot lane went 19-11, 39 combined. UCal 13-7-9, 37% on damage, led the way for Thunder Talk as he had a nasty Azir game in game 2 where he carried pretty much solo bolo. Now, Nip Shadow was in the right place at the right time in game 1. Thunder Talk tried to make some plays. Shadow was there to answer and to win those interactions, which then would snowball and give Nip a win in game 1. Game 2, it slowed way down. Thunder Talk were like, we're not going to allow Nip to be as aggressive, to be able to make plays. We're going to slow the game down, and it ended up working for Thunder Talk because the Azir mid scaled. The rest of the team was able to do what it had to do in team fights and secure the victory. But in game 3, it was back and forth. And in the end, Angel and Foda could get it done. Invincible gets it done. I didn't end up making Invincible MVP because honestly, in their game 1 win, a lot of people give him credit for his side lane pushing, but he went 1-5-5 for that game, which would be a terrible KDA. He was not good in the whole fighting aspect of the game. He just kind of side laned into a win. I even think Hoya may have solo killed him at one point in this series, which also made me not as excited about making Invincible MVP. So I end up giving it to Shadow because, I mean, I thought he made things happen. Game 3, not as good as game 1, but I thought he was effective. He did what he had to do against the rookie in Zhao Halgren, who has not looked good since he started playing. Thunder Talk didn't look good before he joined, so is it his fault? I'd probably say no. They played Yao Yao games 1 and 2. They went 1-1 in those games, but Yao Yao had 10 deaths. So they went with Yuyanja in game 3 and then picked him Yumi, which I have to say is not a good test of like figuring out how good that support is if you're putting them on Yumi. I would say that it's really hard to probably assess just what is the better combination when you do that, especially with Wanfeng still on the bench. RNG and top. RNG 23rd in the power rankings would lose, going to 3-4 as top Esports 4th in the power rankings go to 7-1, winning 2-1. Rookie was MVP. Jackie Love 14-2-10, 36% of damage at 80 carry. Mark 1-4-25 at support, so the bot lane went 15-6-35. LP in the loss went 2-7-9 with 27% of damage for RNG. In RNG's win, it was a lot to do with Wei. And actually, Lamau had a ton of kills in that one on Rakan, which probably screwed LP a little bit. I imagine if LP had gotten that gold, the game would have been a lot quicker for them. But either way, they lose. Game 3, because Rookie shows up. He makes things happen. He dominates the game. His Ahri, I believe he was on Ahri in that one, was very effective. And Jackie Love obviously was dealing a good amount of damage on Aphelios throughout this series. But I felt like Rookie was the important part to Game 3. Wayward also looked good in this one. There were a couple team fights where he didn't have an opportunity to really affect things. I think he had an Ornn in a game, if I recall, and one of the alties specifically really sticks out to me as something that he kind of missed out on. And there were some moments that just were kind of like, okay, well, I mean, he's playing well, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's playing poorly, but not quite as important as Rookie or Jackie Love. Tien did work. However, Wei definitely did gap him in their win, so I do have to take that into consideration. Tangwan, relatively useless as normal. I will say in their win, he had some plays, but at the same time, over a 3-game series, we're only getting what we expect out of him, really. RNG, the rumors where they wanted to have a mid laner with 4 letters to start with M. I mean, Ming is still available. So, MSI 2023 rematch. JDG first in the power rankings would win. They're 7-1. BLG second, 6-1. JDG 2-0 them and 2-0 them with ease. This was a big diffy. Ruler 21-2, 34% of damage was MVP. Knight 12-3-21 was very, very good. Elk 7-11-8, 35% of damage for BLG. JDG had a plan. We're going to go bot lane and we're going to go after Elk, and they surely did. Ruler and Missing definitely kind of set that up in game one, more so by themselves. I think there was a 2v2 kill before Knight ended up taking a trip down there to make things happen. And then in game two, Knight went down there again to make things happen. And that just put Elk in a hole that Ruler would not let him out of. Ruler gapped him afterwards. Top lane, Bin did look very good. 369 was solid, but Bin was the only reason that BLG had any chance in either of the games. I thought he was very good on the K'Sante. Yagao could not keep up with Knight at all. If Knight is roaming and Yagao is on a Talia and he's level 7 and he's not following up because either he's blue his ulti would not affect anything, or he's simply not trying to offset that roam, then I would say that's a big issue in this one. Because if you're on a Talia, your job is to be able to use your global, be able to make things happen or answer, and he did not. So, with that in mind, I would say Yagao's a big reason why they lost. Sean, I think, played Vi both games. Meh. Against Kanavi. I mean, in the end, Sean was not able to get on Ruler, right? Ruler only dies twice. So, I mean, he ended up picking a QSS, I think. Picking up a QSS, but a lot of people would say that's a waste of gold. It eliminated Shun's impact. I think that's kind of the deal there. If Vi gets nerfed, it becomes like a Skarner, right? You're just using it for the ulti to be able to, make things happen and secure kills on carries. So if you can just QSS it, then Vi becomes meh. So that was pretty lopsided. I'm sure a lot of people were disappointed by that one. LCK, Live Sandbox 25th in the power rankings, KT 9th. KT win 2-0. They're 3-1. LSB 1-3. BDD went 7-6-10, 32% of damage was on Azir, both games was MVP. Aiming 13-1-5, played Jinx and Zeri. Closer 2-4-5, 32% of damage in the loss. BDD's Azir was excellent in team fights. His shuffles were on point, and he was very effective. He carried team fights. I thought he played very well, even in the side lane at times. He was able to make some outplays, trade 1-for-1 when otherwise some players would not have. I thought he was very good. In game one, Liv Sandbox were able to come back, and Aiming had to close it out, which made me want to make Aiming MVP. But in game two, I thought BDD played very well. So couple that with game one, he ended up getting it. Aiming did have a quadra to close it out, though, on Jinx. Like, that was the nail in the coffin. Because KT played towards Keen, and Keen gapped Birdall. He was up like 50 CS in both games. Now, Birdall was not on some big deal champions, it was tank-oriented things, and Keen was on Renekton in both games. But then in the mid to late game, Keen was not nearly as effective. Getting picked off a couple times, being over-aggressive with his lead, and it allowed Sandbox back into game one. So, with that in mind, it was unfortunate because they're playing towards him, getting him ahead, and then he kind of throws it a bit. And BDD and Aiming have to do work. Cuz was also very active on the Viego in both games, so give him his flowers. As KT beats Sandbox. I feel like Sandbox's bot lane was relatively non-existent in this one. D plus Nongshim, D plus 6th in the power rankings win, so they are 3-1 now. Nongshim 1-3. Dam1 plus Kia 1-2-0. Showmaker MVP 817, 39% of damage on LeBlanc both games. Kellen 2218 at support. Din 372, 32% of damage for Nongshim. I debated on making Kana MVP. His game 2 performance, he solo killed Din 3 times. Din then would solo kill him once. So with that last solo kill, I did not allow Kana to overtake Showmaker for MVP status, because honestly, if it was 3 solo kills and he just dominated that lane that hard, I would have made him MVP. But, Din did get the last word. Nevertheless, Showmaker was disgusting. In team fights, he was really doing some serious work. That's a ton of damage, right? It was over 1,000 DPM. Quad, I said this earlier, I'm not a big quad guy. I said this before the season. Some people disagree with me. He has not carried. Fiesta didn't either, but Quad hasn't, so I don't know why Quad continues to get playing time. Without, any sort of pushback from Fiesta or Call Me. Deft returned to the team playing remotely. Obviously, that was better. I would have still liked Rahel to play because Nongshim are not as good as Bro. I'm sure the team was like, we need to definitely beat Nongshim after losing to Bro. But Rahel probably should have played, in my personal opinion. Also, Canyon was super good on Nico in Game 1. I almost made him MVP for that. So it was like Canyon in Game 1, Kana in Game 2, but Showmaker for the series, because Showmaker between both games was better than them, because Canyon was like super silly in Game 2, and Kana in Game 1, I felt like, was he even there? That was the deal with that one. LEC. I didn't even... Oh, yeah, I did. LEC. Vitality, SK. Vitality, 22nd in the power rankings, would win. They're now 1-1. SK 0-2. Perks went 5-1-7, 34% of damage on LeBlanc. Photon, 4-1-6. I believe he was on a Renekton. Irrelevant, 1-1-6, 28% of damage, leading SK. Remember yesterday when I said Adam led BDS in damage in a win, and then when you see the champion, you're like, oh, yeah, it was that bad of a game, huh? Irrelevant was on Ornn, and he dealt the most damage on the team. That's bad. Not to mention the fact that Certus actually kept up in the early game and got SK into a really good position. He was very active on the ante. He made things happen, but in the end, they couldn't get it done because Photon would join team fights and just start removing health bars. Perks was removing health bars. Bo was on Sejuani, just kind of being a Sejuani and being a tank. The bot lane of Vitality, not all that impactful in my opinion compared to the solo lanes. Exakick and DOS, also not that impactful. But the solo lanes of SK, I thought, were competitive. Certus was. Irrelevant is on an Ornn, going 28%. I mean, geez, I can't get that out of my mind. Exakick deals some damage, guy. Like, we have a carry Ornn in top lane. Irrelevant. My opinion of Irrelevant is not high. And then he does that. And it's like, oh, no. Oh, no, SK. Maybe they're not going to Worlds. Maybe I got a little too hypey in winter. Fnatic XL. Fnatic win. They're 2-0. XL 0-2. Noah, 11-05. 36% of damage on Aphelios was MVP. Trimby, 0-1-17 on Yumi. So the bot lane went 11-1 and 22. Patrick, 2-4-5. 35% of damage in the loss. Peach is not getting things done. And Razork gapped him today. Razork very active. And in team fights, Noah just was getting, Noah is looking very good in the first couple games. I mean, opponents are what they are, right? Astralis SK, Astralis XL. But first two games, Noah checks out alongside Trimby. That bot lane is pretty scary. Fnatic are on a roll. Humanoid is a good player domestically. Razork is okay. And then top lane Oscarinen's not inting, which is important, especially into Odoamne. Because Odo is very talented, obviously, an older player, but still very good at what he does in the side lane. So Fnatic winning because of Noah in team fights and not inting before then is a win con. Peach Abadage. XL, I don't think have a lot of money. I just don't think they have a lot of money. So with that in mind, I could see a rough end of the season for them. Mad Lions G2. Mad Lions 20th in the power rankings. G2 14th. Mad would win. They're now 2-0. G2 1-1. Karzi 9-5-10. 46% of damage. Chasey 819 was my MVP. Hansama 844, 37% of damage in the loss. I do struggle with this one. I thought that the game was close until it wasn't. One of those deals. I thought Nico really kept up with, Caps really kept up with Mad Lions on the Nico. Kept the game close for a long time. And then in the late game, Karzi and Chasey came through. I thought that Karzi was effective also in the early game, but then it was Chasey that put them over the edge. However, when I looked at the damage stats, I said to myself, 46% is a lot of damage. It's undeniable, right? I mean, that's nearly half of the team's damage coming from him. So maybe he was more valuable than Chasey. I think there is an argument to be made for both. Elyoya also did some nice things. Yike was on Nocturne, not a Yike champion. I'm not a big fan of Yike's Nocturne. I'm not a big fan of Nocturne in general, especially against a team that I don't think had any globals in this one. So, the bot lane of G2 obviously doing very well. Hansama doesn't go 8-4-4, doing poorly. So with that in mind, I would say that these two teams are still very close. Mad obviously are a team that does really well domestically. If you're not playing at your best, you will lose. So going Nocturne for Yike probably isn't playing at your best. And with that in mind, it's kind of like you're inting a bit against Mad Lions. Like Mad Lions, I say it all the time. If you play your best against Mad Lions, you'll beat them. But if you do not play at your best, they will beat you. They are like a gatekeeper when it comes to that. BDS Koi. BDS 18th in the power rankings would win. So now both teams are 1-1. Nuke was MVP. Adam 421, 28% of damage. Lebrav 007 at support. Comp 130, 38% of damage in the loss. I'm not going to lie, I don't remember a lot about this one, but I will say this. Adam being on a carry and they win, I'm not surprised. For a little while here, they've been putting Adam on a lot of tankier champions, and don't get me wrong, I called for some of that myself. I said, you have to offer different styles of play. The issue is BDS were losing a lot of the games where they would end up putting him on tanks, like we saw at the end of the season, right, in the playoffs against Mad Lions specifically, and then yesterday. So the thing is, you have to win when you're doing that to make it viable. Otherwise, everyone's like, okay, put him on a tank. Thank you for the free win. So, they still have to work on that. I thought Sheo was active. I thought Nook really did things. And then Crowney, obviously, just was there. He didn't even, I had to double check, right? He didn't lead in damage. That's a thing. Koi, obviously, another gatekeeper team like Mad Lions. So, I'm not going to be shocked if Koi make it to Worlds because they are just the way they are, which a lot of LEC fans don't want, but let's be based in reality here and not in like hopium and what we want to see happen. It's about what the championship points say right now and what may come of it. Lastly, Astralis Heretics. Heretics win. They're 2-0. Astralis 0-2. As Flacked, once again, dominates. This time on a Draven. Going 11-2-3, 34% of damage. Yankos 1-1-16 on Maokai. Leader 3-3-4 in the loss. 28% of damage. So, in the early game, Evie did go all over the place on Renekton, which helped Flackhead. Evie was the only player on Heretics that was ahead after the early game was over, if I recall the gold diffy in the scoreboard. But once Evie got Flackhead into a good position, Flackhead just took over. And with that in mind, I think you could argue that Evie could have been MVP. I guess you could argue Yankos, obviously being on a Maokai, he is being very effective in securing Draven opportunities to get easy kills. Vatio, not as important this one as previously. Astralis, they've had a couple good splits that we didn't expect them to have. So are they due for a sucky one because Heretics are now better? It's entirely possible, right? Astralis have put together a couple good splits, but they're not a world beater by any means as a team. So to see them lose in the way they did today is not a super big surprise. Preview for tomorrow. LPL, Ninja in Pajamas playing back-to-back days against Team Wii, who have not played in the LPL for over a week. Apparently, they've been playing in the Road to Asia games. They played against PSG Talon. I don't think that went well. I did not watch those games, but if I recall, somebody in the Discord said Maple looked really good. If that's the case, maybe Team Wii did not look good, because Maple's now on PSG Talon, back at home where he made his name. So NIP 24th in the power rankings are 5-3, coming off of a win against Thundertalk. Team World Elite are 3-0 and 13th in the power rankings, coming off of a win against IG. In spring, Team We would beat NIP 2-1. Changes in rosters. Top lane for Team We now is Cube, and then mid lane for NIP now Angel. So comparison. Hang, Hope, Iwandi went 25, 22, and 64 in the win. 1,054 DPM, 47% of the damage. Shadow, Fodic, Huo. Jeez, I don't know why his name's so hard for me to get down, but we'll get it. 15, 21, 55. 1,116 DPM, so more DPM, and a higher share at 51%. So it was the solo lanes that gave Team We the win. More importantly, Shanks, if I recall that scoreboard correctly, Bubu was useless. So Shanks was the diffie there. So we'll see Dream is worse than Angel. So with that in mind, I'm sure Shanks is not going to go off quite as much as he did last time. And we also have to keep in mind they are coming off of a layoff. LGD Anyone's Legend. This is the Toilet Bowl. LGD 0-7. Coming off of a loss to Top. Anyone's Legend 1-5, coming off of a loss to JDG. Last time these two teams played, LGD won 2-1 in spring. The only matchup that remains the same is the jungle. In top lane, LGD now have Decade. In mid lane, Anyone's Legend have Harder. In bot lane, both bot lanes have changed a bit. Envy now plays for LGD. Anyone's Legend has iBoy tomorrow, I believe. And then Anyone's Legend are playing Zora at support. So, Meteor in the win went 5-6-20, 25% of the team's damage. That is not a big surprise. Meteor can be a carry jungler. 25% of damage would be definitely a carry jungler performance. Zhao Hao in the loss went 7-5-18, 11%. Zhao Hao is not a carry. He can carry on Lee Sin, but otherwise he's not a carry. He's a pure facilitator, but went positive, where Meteor went negative KDA, which is interesting. So I do give the edge to Meteor in that one. This series, obviously, we're going to get into it during the predictions. That's going to be a tough one to predict. LEC. So, XL, SK, both 0-2. Last time they played, SK would win. Roster differences. XL now have Peach, Abadage in jungle mid, where they didn't the last time they played SK. Excuse me. So, Irrelevant Exakick DOS would go 3-0-12, 822 DPM, 57% of the team's share. Odoamne Patrick Limit went 0-3-0, 836 DPM, 60%. So both pretty close in terms of impact. Those mid-jungle duo being a bit of the difference in that last matchup. BDS Astralis. BDS 18th in the power rankings, 1-1. Astralis 0-2. All the players are the same. So Crowny went 5-3-5, 35% of damage. Kabe 6-1-5, 32% of damage. So both 80 carries had good games. We'll see if it's as close this time. BDS, Astralis with 2 losses is not a good look, especially in the manner in which they have lost. So, it's going to be a thing, because BDS have options, right? Mad Lions and Koi. Mad Lions 20th in the power rankings, 2-0. Koi 1-1. Last time they played, Mad Lions would win. Roster differences. Koi now have Advian at support. Karzi went 205, 31% of damage in the win. Comp 203, 23% of damage in the loss. So once again, 280 carries playing a little more KDA focused, both under 30% of their, Karzi 31%. Not super high damage shares, right? Not high KP in terms of kills for this entire game. So the last time they played was really slow and boring, or the 80 carries weren't involved, one or the other. Fnatic G2. Fnatic 2-0, G2 1-1, 14th in the power rankings. Last time they played, Fnatic won. Roster changes. Fnatic now have Noah Trimby in the bot lane, so we'll compare the top side of the Rift. Oscarinin, Razor, Humanoid went 15, 11, 28 in the win for 2,234 DPM. That's a lot of damage. 53% in fact. Broken Blade, Yike, and Caps went 8, 13, and 18 for only 1,230 something DPM, so 1,000 DPM less. That's a lot, and especially when you take into account G2 had 55% of their team's damage, so they had more of the share and 1,000 DPM less. Fnatic definitely was aggressive in that one, to say it lightly. To finish off week 1, Vitality, 22nd in the power rankings, play Heretics. Heretics 2-0, Vitality 1-1. Last time they played, Vitality would win. Roster differences, Heretics now have Vethio and Flackid at mid 80 carry. So we're going to compare top jungle support. Vitality, Photon, Bow, and Kaiser went 6, 7, 29, 9, 12 DPM, 40% of the team's damage in the win. Evie, Yankos, Mursa went 8, 12, 17 for 979 DPM, 49%, so about 10% more DPM, only slightly, 67 more DPM, 10% more share. So you could see why Vitality had the edge. Their other roles did work. The 2 carry roles and mid 80 carries. So trying to push these videos out on days like this are tough after work. Not tough per se, but it's just like trying to get it out in a timely fashion for you guys is not hard. It's just a thing. It has to get done, right? It has to get done in a timely fashion. So that's it for the roundup. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. The 4th Hall of Fame class finished up voting yesterday. 5th class starts today. Please pick 15 names. I understand that the names might not be the strongest anymore, but the fact of the matter is the best players are still playing. There's a reason why they're not retired. So we have to pick the best of what's there. I do not like the MLB style of Hall of Fame where they have to have 75% of the vote to get in, because then some years nobody gets in, and I think that's bogus. Now, do I think that there should be a ton of people in every year? No, but I'm trying to make up for 12 years of League of Legends, so I'm picking 60. We're doing 60 players, right? The original 60, because it's 12 years. So that's the reason why, well, 72, because we're doing 6 a year. Because 5 roles, and hypothetically a owner, coach, or another player. So that's why there's going to be 72, and that's why some of the names won't be strong when we get to the 70s, whatever player. These players, though, did have international experience, most of them. Won domestically, most of them. Had success. I mean, it is what it is. It's not like we're picking, a player that finished last place every year, right? We're picking players that were on winning teams that did do well at times, or most of the time, or all of the time. That is what it is. There are a bunch of players that will be added to the list at the end of summer because they are 2 years from retirement, which is important in my opinion. You look at Uzi, who just returned after retiring again. You look at Doublelift, who's done the same. Trick. There's countless players that do this, so we can't be adding players right after their retirement into the Hall of Fame voting, unless it's going to be Faker, which will be a Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky situation. Otherwise, they're getting... Notice there's only one name for those sports that really did that, if I recall. I think Kobe got a bump, but I would hope that no player needs the bump for the reason that people, Kobe was going to get in the Hall of Fame either way, but the reason why I think it's pretty obvious why it occurred earlier than, what the standard procedure is. So, that's kind of the deal with that. Player pools going on, predictions are going on. Power rankings end tomorrow for this week. I am going to be doing some car repairs tomorrow, so I'm going to try and get 2 videos out. There is a possibility that the power rankings will be recorded and then put out on Tuesday, because by the time it gets recorded, it might be too late, and I'll have to schedule it and this or that. That might have to happen, but the power rankings finish tomorrow, and become a YouTube member if you want my predictions. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.